Hey everybody, welcome back. Yes, another week of technical issues, and Danny put his finger on the button and figured out what it was. Last week we think we received a nasty little update from Microsoft, and it set everything back to default. So
right, exactly.
We think that's the issue here, but Danny is feverishly sharing the show, and once we get those shares out of the way, we will get going.
I gotta see it pop up.
All right, so hopefully everybody's rocking along tonight.
Absolutely.
Everybody had a good weekend, I hope. Here in Michigan, we got a little much-needed rain. Got the yard cut this weekend right before that, so that's a good thing. And I'm going to get my share out of the way as we're sitting here waiting. Our guest is sitting anxiously waiting. Once we got all this
Sitting
stuff.
on the other side of the lake, matter of fact. The big lake.
That's right. And we're on the other side of Lake Michigan. So, have you seen it pop up over there yet, Danny?
Not yet.
Okay. You might need to refresh your page then.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm going to get on here and get mine out of the way.
Yeah, get yours on the way.
Is my wheel sitting and spins? There we go.
Oh, that's us.
You got it?
It's here.
All right. Taking care of business.
That's right. There we are. Make sure I'm on mute.
This weekend right before.
See?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my shirt out there.
All
I
right.
said mute.
All right. Here we go. I'm going to share mine. I'm done. And as soon as Danny gets done taking care of his side of the equation here, we will get rocking. Linda and Ed Thornhill and Daniel Burns is on watching with us. Hey, what's going on, guys and gals? Glad you're, Dan and Nevin both are watching. Good deal. Hopefully the show last night got you guys last week got you some much needed coverage. People are starting to pile into the cabin right now. That's a good deal.
That's right. Pile in, everybody. Come on.
Sorry, we're a little bit late, but while Danny's taking care of some shares, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take care of some quick business.
Yeah, you do
We're going to
that.
get the show started. Here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal Podcast, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin, running a little late tonight, but we got technical bugs worked out, and we are ready to rock. Our guest is on and ready to go. But before we get started, we got to take care of some business. We're going to talk about Buck Baits. Buck Baits has been a great supporter of Up North Journal, and if you go over to their website, buckbaits.com, you can save 20% on your order over there of your much-needed deer hunting gear. And the code to use is Up North Journal to save 20%. You know, in this time of the year, we're always hanging out by the grill, grilling food for parties and for supper and all that. And you know, we use Rebel 6 rubs here at the Up North Journal. And Rebel 6 is offering you 20% off of your order over at rebel6rubs.com by using North Journal promo code. And our other supporter that we like to talk about all the time, and I'm actually drinking tonight, is our Hunter's Blend Coffee. If you go over to huntersblendcoffee.com and use UNJ, capital UNJ, you will save 10% on your order over there as well. So we like to give a quick shout out to all the people who support us and in turn help them. So if you go over to their websites, check those guys and gals out. And Danny, are you all set over there?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, Danny's got his shares out of the way, and I tell you, we're just going to jump right into it right now. We've got our guest on from Egg Harbor, Brett King, Yamaha Pro Fisherman. Brett, what is going on?
Well, you know, it's a beautiful day up here in Egg Harbor. The cherries are ripe. There's lots of people up here, you know, picking their own cherries and things going on. The area's, you know, a little bit on lockdown from the whole situation we got going on in the world.
Right.
Which, you know, that's enough said about that right now. But
Right.
no, it's good. We're up here. I'm up here actually pre-fishing. I'm at Robert Blosser's house up here in Egg Harbor.
What? You at Blosser's place?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's already warned you about us.
Yeah, oh yeah, a little bit. He told me. He warned me. But yeah, we're up here pre-fishing for actually what will be our first NWT event of the year, which to be talking about that at the end of July is crazy.
Which is typically when is your first event of the year? Typically.
Normally we're getting rolling in April, so.
So
we
about
sit here-
3 months ish.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
You
We
feeling
should be
rusty?
on about event number 3 by now.
Are you feeling rusty? Are the hooks getting rusted? Is the lines getting kinked or what?
Yeah, I mean, you would think all the extra prep time, that we had being off, you'd be completely 100% ready. But to be honest with you, the week prior to this, I mean, it was solid, legitimate 12-hour days prepping and getting ready to go, because for a while there, you just felt like it wasn't even going to happen.
Right.
So, you don't want to go through all that prep work and then it doesn't happen, because you're just going to do it all again next year. So,
Right.
So it was the normal rush to get ready, even though we started in July. So, but yeah, we're up here now. We've had a couple days of big wind, a lot of storms rolling through.
You had the storms that we had the storms earlier
Today.
Today.
Well, they rolled through here about what, 11, 12 o'clock-ish?
about that, and then you had them probably during the night. Actually, is probably when you had them there.
They came through during the night and actually woke me up, and for them to wake me up out of a sleep, they were pretty good storms.
So something like that. I know you're thinking about you're going to go out fishing today, pre-fishing and everything. Does that just like throws a wrench into it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You just kind of go about business. You go out, you try to mark fish and see where they're at. You don't get, I don't get too jumpy if they don't want to eat, because they did get rocked pretty good the last couple days. You just try to kind of pin down the areas where they might be at, and make a note for later, let the weather settle in, which I think we're going to do now. Sounds like the winds will be great tomorrow, and the temperatures are actually going to come back a little bit. So you just kind of go out and do your deal. I always look at it as it doesn't matter what happened last night. If it's tournament day, I got to go catch them. That's just the way it is. I don't pay massive attention to the pressures and all the barometric pressures and all that and what happened the day before, because the reality is if it's tournament day, I got to go catch them. So
that's what that's what wins you the Angler of the Year and all your tournaments and everything that you have is you got to catch fish. You just can't mark them, right?
Right. It's always said that you can't pick your days. As a tournament fisherman, you don't get to pick your days. Here's your days. You got to go catch them. So whatever yesterday was, it doesn't matter today. So
Right, and you're all fishing the same conditions, so, you're all under the same gun, so to speak.
yes. And, it keeps everybody on their toes.
Absolutely, it does. Now, are you and Blosser in the same boat, or are you in two different boats?
No, two different boats.
Okay, so, all right. So who kind of won today?
I think he did. I think he actually caught a couple, and I did not catch a walleye today. So I left a couple sheephead out there with hook marks in their face, but that's about the extent of my day. So actually, the extent of my couple days. Yesterday was pretty rough as well. I did have a little excitement towards the end of the day. I was clearing a spread on a trolling run, and I got a crankbait about 5 to 10 feet from the boat, and a steelhead came out of nowhere, about a 10-pounder, and just ripped that bait and took off with it. And I actually saw it come up and eat it. So
wow,
this place is really cool to fish. You just don't know, what that next bite is going to be.
That's awesome. And in talking about that, the next bite, I tell you what, a steelhead and other various fishes that come at you, it's got to be, fish or no fish, it's got to be exciting no matter what it is.
It is. You never know. I live on the Mississippi River in western Wisconsin, and that's one of the things that intrigues me about that river is you never know what that next fish is going to be. It might be a 45-pound catfish. It might be a big walleye. It could be a big sheephead. You just don't know. Every time you get a bite, it's like, oh, what's this going to be?
So did you grow up in Minnesota or in Wisconsin?
I grew up actually in Owatonna, Minnesota, and then I moved to Wisconsin roughly about 5 years ago.
Okay,
And live on.
so with going back to your younger days, what turned Brett King into the pro fisherman that he is today? What was that driving factor that said, "Hey, you're going to do this"?
That's a really interesting question that I get asked quite a bit, and I would like to say, have the normal story. It was my grandpa, it was my dad, things like that. I grew up in a split household. I grew up with my mom, and I didn't have really a fishing mentor around me. My dad, I can give credit to my dad actually, because when I would go see him on weekends, he lived on Lake Minnetonka right in downtown, central Twin Cities area. And I was just always intrigued by fishing. So he lived on Minnetonka in an apartment complex. And I would get up in the morning, about 5 o'clock, and I would go shake my dad and say, "Dad, I need $2. I need $2." And he'd give me some money, and I would run down about 3 blocks to the local bait store and go get some night crawlers. And I would come back, and I would sit on those docks at the apartments, and I would just fish. And I didn't care what I caught. It was bluegills, bass. It didn't matter. And I would do that, and he would have to drag me in at night to go to dinner. It was just something that was inside of me. My dad was never a big fisherman, so it really didn't come there. It was just something that was actually inside of me. And then when I was roughly, probably 5th or 6th grade, 7th grade, we moved to an apartment complex in Owatonna, and I got to know the neighboring family really well. And they would take a trip up north every year to Cherney's Resort on 6 Mile Lake in Bena, Minnesota. And I earned my way along on that trip with them as like the younger brother. And, Gary Berg was the one that really turned me on to walleye fishing up on 6 Mile Lake at Cherney's Resort. And it just grew from there. I would bale hay all summer on a farm to earn enough money to pay my way to get that week at Cherney's Resort, and it just put the fire in me. And from there, I would get on my bike, and when I was back home, I'd get on my bike and I'd ride 8 miles, 10 miles out to my grandparents' place out in the country just to go fish carp, because I just wanted to keep fishing. Things like that. There was the Straight River ran through Owatonna, Minnesota, and I would get on my bike in the morning. I would run down to Darts Park, where there was another creek coming through there, and I would catch chubs. And then I would take those chubs and I would go down to the Straight River, and that's where I learned to kind of fish rivers. And I'd fish a current seam, and I would catch northern pike out of there. And that's really where it all began. And then I kind of got away from it for a little bit and took my shot at a very short drag racing career. Quickly learned that wasn't going to cut it for me. And then after that, I really decided that I wanted to go fishing and try to make, my living in the fishing industry. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. You see that drive and desire as a kid, and the work ethic going along with raising money to go on a trip. I think nowadays we don't see a lot of that with kids. In today's society, you see we do a little bit, but most of it, a lot of people just kind of expect things to be kind of given to them, and where that work ethic used to be there, where you go out and earn it. That's awesome. I hats off to you, man. That's a great story.
Yeah,
It really is. So do you think it's more of the catching of the fish, the outsmarting of the fish? What's the hidden drive there that makes you want to go after doing that?
Well, I'm pretty sure I could fish 365 days a year and not even bat an eye, as long as you put a new challenge in front of me. I'm just competitive by nature. I want to compete. I love thinking I'm outsmarting the competition and catching fish that they can't. That's what keeps me going. If you can put a new challenge in front of me, on a weekly basis, I know I can fish 365 days a year without issue. And that's why I love living on the Mississippi River, because that thing is always going up and down. It's muddy, then it's clear, it's fast water, then it's slow water. Every time you go out there, you have to figure those fish out.
Okay, you just said something that kind of piqued my curiosity, especially being up in Wisconsin. 365, that means there's got to be some ice fishing in there as well, am I right?
Well, there used to be. Actually, I can fish open water 365 days a year if I want to.
Okay.
Because on the Mississippi, I have a nuclear plant that keeps 10 miles of the river open all winter long. So I do. I mean, I'm that crazy guy out there when it's 15 degrees and no wind. If I can get out on the water, I go. But almost 3 years ago now, I got actually hired by Bass Cat and Yarcraft Boats to run their dealer network up here in the north as a regional sales manager. So
Okay.
with that comes boat shows every single week when COVID isn't in play. So my ice fishing has literally gone to maybe one trip a year. So I don't get to do that much. I'm home for 2 or 3 days a week, and then I'm off to the next boat show.
Right,
So,
you run the same gamut with us in outdoor shows that you do with boat shows. It just starts in January, and then it revs up for that in that winter time where you're off running, doing the boat thing.
yeah, it's a long 4 months. I basically start the first weekend of January once you pass New Year's, and it goes into April on a normal year. We'll see this year. I might get to pick my ice fishing gear back up, dust it off, because the first boat show of the year is already canceled.
Oh, here we go.
So
it's starting.
it's going to set the precedence.
For 2021, it's already canceled?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Tampa Bay show, which is kind of the kickoff.
Okay.
That's already canceled. So
Gee, Tampa Bay in January?
I think it was in September, November.
Oh, okay, so it's
Okay.
still this year. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I'll tell you what, we're bumping up here on our first break. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we want to talk a little bit about maybe some of the gear you use on the water, the boats, the motors, and stuff like that. And so we're going to step outside. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll kind of jump into some of that aspect of what you do. We'll be right back after this.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys and
All
gals.
right, anybody out there got some walleye questions for Brett King? He's sitting over with a buddy. For some reason, I picture these guys just going at it, yelling at each other across the water. I told you I'd catch you on.
Is there a good friendly rivalry? If you're sitting over there with him, hanging out with him, it's got to be a good, close friendship, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, we met a long time ago on the tournament trail, and we've been pretty tight since. So
That's awesome. That is so good to hear. And like you said, you guys are both on the Yamaha team and working together. And like you said, you're out there fishing, having a good old time, and just enjoying life.
yeah, I mean it's family out here. We're family on the road. We pick each other up when we get knocked down, and we just keep going.
All right. Well, Danny, you want to kick us back off?
I can. Welcome back, everybody. Second segment of the show tonight, and we are talking with Brett King, Yamaha Pro Fisherman. You know what? I gotta say it. We're into the second segment. There has got to be a time when Brett King caught a BK Whopper. I'm not. I've been wanting to use that line since we started. I'm like, I gotta get this line in here. But you know what, Brett? You came onto the Yamaha team as a pro fisherman. What's that like, getting on to the Yamaha Pro Fishing team, working with them?
Oh yeah, I mean that's a great family. It's brought many friends within that organization. I've known like David Ittner for a long time. He's been a long time proponent of the AIM Walleye series, which I've been chairman of the board for for way longer than I even want to say, but so I've known David for a long time. We tried to get together one other time, a few years back, probably 8 years ago. We couldn't get together at that time, and then it all came together back about 4 years ago, and I got part of the family. They're amazing people. Actually, we had 3 of the engineers from Yamaha up here earlier this past week, and they wanted to study us out fishing on the water. So Robert, myself, Josh Blosser had them out on the water. And, that says a lot about that company, that they truly, one of the people here was Fuji from Japan. When they want to come in and do some studying on what we're actually doing in our world, that speaks volumes about, creating new innovative products. And so I couldn't be happier. I love being with Yamaha. I love supporting them. They support me. It's a phenomenal product, obviously. I never have to worry about, getting home when I'm on a run. That thought never even enters my mind. And we've kind of become known for making some crazy long runs on the water to, kind of do anything to win type deal. So,
what motor are you running on your boat?
I've got a 300 offshore on a 219 Yarcraft, and last year I had the opportunity. We didn't quite have our new boat done for Yarcraft, so actually ran a Bass Cat Caracal with a 225 show on it on the National Walleye Tour, which is kind of a whole nother story. So, but yeah, no, it's great product. Couldn't be happier to be with.
You have no worries about coming into a tournament, having to make a long run, short run, start, stop, go fast, slow, all about. But Yamaha has been there, no problems at all.
Yes, I have not. I have not been let down one time as far as getting home. It's very respectable fuel economy for a 300 horsepower engine, and you can manage it well just by backing off the throttle, and you can. Their digital gauging, their command gauging is right on when it comes to metering fuel on the digital gauges. It tells you exactly what gallons you've used that day. So, I'm just on point. I know exactly what I have to get home. At one point, 2018, I looked down at my trip meter, and it was day 2, and I was 112 miles away from home.
Wow.
And I didn't even bat an eye about getting home. I went and got some fuel, and back across Lake Huron I went. So.
It's funny, you said something there that kind of caught my ear. You talk about fuel economy and fuel mileage. With a 300 horse motor, it's just, you typically don't think of those two things going together.
Yeah. No, and it's a real thing. You really got to study it, and we pay a lot of attention to, what we get at 5,000 RPMs, what we can get at 4,500 RPMs, and what kind of speed we can carry at those RPMs. And then, if we got to make a big run to get to the fish, we'll calculate that out. Okay, we got to go, whatever it is, 80 miles to get there. What am I going to burn for fuel? Do I need a fuel stop? Or can I, just turn and burn that trip and make it if I back it off to 4,500 RPMs? There's so much more that goes into this game, than people even begin to realize once you get behind the scenes and see what we actually do when we're thinking about this stuff. So.
Well, you just mentioned it. You were on Lake Huron. It ain't no small lake.
No.
You don't need to be stuck out there somewhere and have some nice big rollers come along and here you are just sitting there going, oh.
Well, when you said that making them runs, people that really don't realize, I never really even thought about fuel economy with fishing. You just go out and you fish and you come back. But you brought up a great point, something we've never considered.
Is that one of Yamaha's Yamaha and their motors is their fuel efficiency top notch?
Yeah, it's all about the statement is reliability, fuel efficiency, and never worrying about getting home. it all goes hand in hand with their maintenance matters campaigns, and you take care of your end of it, they will take care of their end of it. So it was really neat to spend some time with Philip, Jacob, and Fuji this week. Fuji was actually the one that pioneered the 300 offshore, which has obviously become a legendary, product in that category. So it was neat to hear him talk about it, and obviously he was very proud of it, and rightfully so. I mean, that is a fantastic family, engine family. So but that's the fun part of the job, is just helping pushing the needle. Yamaha's gonna work on pushing the needle on some other products here going forward, that they came up and studied this week, and that's the cool thing, is just being part of the next adventure.
Well, that shows volumes of Yamaha taking the time out to get with you guys, to learn what you do, to know what you do, study what you do, and then take that back, feed it back into what they're looking for on the horizon. They're just not sitting on their laurels, say, hey, we got this great motor, everybody get it. No, we're going to go back, we're going to look at it, we're going to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are not even allowed to fly right now, so 3 of them got in a car and drove up here from Georgia to do that. And drove all the way up to Door County to be able to spend a couple days on the water and take the time to study what we do, how we're using this in this application. So that just speaks volumes about where they're going.
Well, it was good that they drove in July as opposed to January.
Yeah.
I need a 4-wheel drive.
And then, we were able to treat them to some fishing as we did that. And I think they all caught their personal best walleye while they were here. Robert took them one night and went out and did some salmon fishing. They got to experience some salmon action. So, no, it was good. It was a good week.
Well, who did we talk to recently from down there that has not caught a walleye yet?
Oh, yes.
From the marketing part, Brad, the name escapes me, the last name. Brad Dreyer, yes. Why haven't you guys taken Dreyer out and caught him a walleye?
I haven't seen him up here on a trip.
Really?
Well, he needs to get up here because
Down there.
For a guy that's never caught a walleye,
He's hanging out at his tiki bar.
well, that's obviously his tiki bar, but
I forget the name he calls it, but anyway, yeah, he said that's the one thing he hasn't been able to do is catch a walleye. So I think he's coming up a month?
He might be up here for the bass tournament over on Lake St. Clair here in August.
In the Elite Series. So we're gonna try to stop over and see him and see if we can't find somebody to take him out walleye fishing.
Right?
There you go. Well, if the timing works out, we'll be up in. I haven't looked at the schedules, but we're up to Sault Ste. Marie next.
Is that where you guys are heading next, to Sault Ste. Marie?
It's supposed to be. We'll see what happens with everything that's going on.
Okay.
I heard some rumblings about the tournament that just happened up there and what happened as far as limiting people. And if that's the case, it's not looking good.
Just as a point of reference, what was some of the things that they were? I mean, was it the amount of people that were on boats, or was it the amount of fishermen?
It sounded like the amount of teams. From some of my friends that fished that last event, it sounds like they got limited to 40 teams, which is not going to work in our world. So I don't know. We're just going to have to sit and wait. It's just been a really challenging year. We've had to schedule and reschedule lodging, and I think we had to.
As you do with the boats and managing all that, all your shows is probably gone. Everything's gone virtual. So you're doing probably more work from your house than ever, and
yeah, it's I work from home typically anyways when I'm not on the road visiting dealers and doing boat shows, so that really wasn't anything different for me. But there was a lot of times I really couldn't go see dealers, because the conditions. Obviously, Michigan didn't want visitors and what have you. So it's definitely been challenging that way, and it's changed the way a lot of people will do business. Heck, it's changed the way tournaments are doing business now.
Mm-hmm.
We're virtual rules meetings, getting pairings by text that we don't even have to go to a meeting right now. A check-in by phone in the morning instead of checking in. I mean, it's been a lot of adjustment. So definitely a year of adversity.
I guess so. And you know what? We're going to go here to a break in just a second. But if anybody has more questions about these Yamaha outboards, we've interviewed 3 people now about Yamaha. And if you go over to YamahaOutboards.com, you can check out their whole lineup of outboard motors. And these guys, that's why we're having them on, is to hear from them about these motors, because these guys really use them. Not like
Not like we would use them.
not like you and I and Ken. We just go putts across the lake.
Right.
These guys, they're using them in a big time situation. So if you get over to YamahaOutboards.com, you can check them out. And when we come back in our next segment, got to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, who is the 2018 Angler of the Year.
So we're going to step outside, we'll take a break, we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back after this. All right, let me save this one off here.
As Blosser makes faces at him, probably on the other side of the camera.
He actually walked up to the patio door behind me just before we started and lifted his shirt up.
I wish we'd have been live at that point.
That would have been a good
No,
one.
you don't. No, you don't.
That would have been a good screen grab to send to Melissa. Hey,
That's
have you
good.
seen this before?
Right. Oh, man. That's good stuff. That's a true friend right there.
It is.
All right, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. We're sitting here talking with Brett King from Yamaha Pro Fisherman, and been talking all things, good things Yamaha, talking walleye fishing. Danny, you said you want to talk a little bit about the...
In the first segment, we got to learn as a kid that what kind of started driving him.
Yeah.
And it was fishing. He's been doing it for, I'll say, a long time. Hope he doesn't get mad
Longer
at me.
than I care to talk.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Thanks for bailing me out. But in 2018, you were named Angler of the Year, which was actually your second time you were named Angler of the Year. What's it like to be casted as, for whatever year, Angler of the Year? You all of a sudden they say, "Hey, you are it." What's that mean to you?
Oh, I mean, it's everything. When you best the best and you're the most consistent, over those events, it becomes your world. It consumes you actually as it's going on. And I'm very fortunate. Fishing has been extremely good to me. It completely humbles me that I've been able to make it this long and be successful. I had an Angler of the Year title in 2011. The very next year, in 2012, I was leading the Angler of the Year race in the FLW, going into the last event, actually up here in Escanaba. And I let that one slip away. 2018, I had a chance to get it again. I think I was third in the race going into Lake of the Woods. And I just was lucky enough to play the perfect event up there, and it just fell my way. Caught a big fish when I needed to, caught the perfect slot fish up there. And, it's brutal to win that. I mean, it's, if you're not top 15, maybe top 20 through all of the events, and you got to have some top 10s in there on top of it. In 18, I won in Saginaw Bay, and then I don't remember exactly where the rest of the finishes were, but, fifth at Lake of the Woods in the championship. I know it was top 10 at Winnebago. And you just have to bring it every single day to even have a chance at being in that conversation at the end of the year. So if you're not proud of that accomplishment, you better check yourself, kind of at the door, because you earned it. If you win it, you earned it. And I've been fortunate enough to win 2 of them. And, last year again, I had a chance to go back to back, much like I did in 11 and 12, and dropped the ball the last day out of Devil's Lake, and it just didn't happen. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. It just was not my day. I've always been one that says if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not your day, it's not your day. I don't feel like I fished bad. I felt like I fished clean for the conditions I had. It just wasn't meant to be. So ended up second to Tom Keenan, which you can't complain about that. The dude's legendary, and he brings it every single day. At that time, it was actually kind of gratifying because he was going to retire and walk away on top.
That's cool.
And but now he's back. I heard he was on the water yesterday, so
He's back.
now I want to take it back from him. Now, it's not so gratifying.
Right? Exactly.
They say, wait, you rolled off on the sunset last year. Come on, this is my year.
Yeah, get out of here.
Keep going.
You got to go away. I'm tired of competing with you.
That is awesome. And you're right. You put in that time, that whole entire year, and you did it. You came out on top in 2018, which was awesome. Like you said, now here in 2020 with all this stuff going on, you're gonna try to do something and make it work. However, that's gonna end up being by the end of this year. I have no idea what you guys are gonna be up against with that, like we talked about in the break. But a couple questions rolling in for you about that. What type of walleye fishing do you do? Do you hand line, jig? What's your method that you use a lot?
My favorite go-to, 100%, is to put a casting rod in my hand. I've done a lot of damage over the years, throwing a jig in plastic, throwing rip and wraps type stuff. I like to fish a spot on the spot type deal. I used to love trolling, but it's just gravitated. On the Mississippi River at home, I do a lot of pitching jigs and plastics and stuff. When I have a jig and rod in my hand, a casting rod in my hand, I always feel like I've got a chance that I can win. So that's definitely my go-to. Jig and plastic is completely different than throwing, like rip and wraps, shiver minnows, that kind of stuff. That's kind of the new craze. But when I figure out a plastic and a jig that they will eat, I get them to eat it, and I feel like I will get pretty much every bite to the boat. And I don't always feel that with other tactics. So that is definitely my go-to.
Okay. Speaking of, we're in July. Do you have a go-to color or scheme that you would use?
I do, but I'm not ready to let that get out of the bag yet.
That is perfect answer. That's what we like to hear, because you know what? That's one of the things I hear the guys over on Lake St. Clair, the river, the bay. It's kind of that. What is it? Is it pink? Is it pink striped? Is it red? Is it whatever? Hey, it's this or it's that. But hey, you got some scheming to do, and the guy that's probably listening right over your shoulder, I go, come on, say it.
Yeah,
but then
you can't let it all go. That's for sure. There's 8 of us now working with Strike King on developing some walleye product. They want to push into that market. So eventually we're going to have to let some of it go on what we're doing to make those products fly.
Right.
But
well,
that time isn't quite there yet. So
that's kind of how that works.
I'm going to hang on to it as long as I can.
There you go. Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you this. Why walleye? Why not bass? Why walleye? What's the drive to go after them guys?
Well, it all goes back to that childhood stuff I was talking about, and going up to Cherney's Resort on 6 Mile Lake, and that's what we did up there. We Lindy rigged walleyes, and quite honestly, I probably got my tail kicked more than I caught them, and it drove that competitive inner nature of mine to just, I want to figure these things out, and I just continued on. if I was maybe 20 years younger, and my son Lucas, he loves bass fishing, and he's exposed me to a lot more bass fishing the last 3 years. And now that I'm selling bass boats, I do get involved more fishing bass, and I do enjoy certain aspects of it. But there's just nothing like going out and smacking an 8-pound walleye that just trips me. I mean, that's just the way it is.
That's awesome. No, that's exactly, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, because you got the bass fishermen over there, you got the walleye fishermen, you got the guys that go after pike, you got these. But they're, but like you said, it goes all back to that as a kid, and then you trying to outsmart them, and then, here you come, now you're a professional, you stare at a map of a big body of water or whatever, and then you're going to go, okay, I'm going to go figure them out and go after them and go get them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just nothing more pleasing to me than to take on a new body of water, a new challenge. Even here this week, Green Bay, I've got a lot of history here and a lot of good history here. Actually won my first pro event here that kept me going. I was about ready to quit at that time, and it kept me going. But this is a whole new lake right now. The water levels have never been this high. We've got some really extreme currents going on right now that are extremely challenging. Blosser just walked in and stuck his tongue out at me. But, this is a completely different lake right now than we're used to. The water temperatures are flying all over the board. Bay I was in on Friday, today was 20-some degrees colder than it was Friday. So there's just a lot of moving parts out here right now.
It changed that much that quick.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. Big winds yesterday, big winds today. Where I launched today, I came in this afternoon and the break wall was gone. It was underwater. I mean, there's just that much movement going on out here right now, and the fish are showing it. They're being stubborn. Yesterday they were pretty cooperative for the AIM guys fishing the tournament there. Obviously, we've been on this, so I haven't looked at the results today, but I'm guessing it was a whole different ball game today for those guys.
Do you like that and look at that as more of a challenge when you're fishing in the tournament, or would you rather things just be set and you know what to expect when you get there?
There's a certain stretch here that I love and I've been able to do really well on in the tournaments that I won't even probably touch until Tuesday because I don't want to know yet.
Right.
We start on Thursday. Right now it's irrelevant. I just want this thing to settle down. The winds are going to settle down now. So I won't even go look there till later in the week. But right now it's about trying to figure out something new and different and something unique.
It almost sounds like you start really becoming a weatherman. Follow that weather.
Yeah. You look at current maps and what's going on, and today out here we were looking at the current map while we were out pre-fishing, and this lower bay basically from Peshigo probably over to Little Sturgeon, we'll just call it that quadrant. When you looked at the current maps, it was a toilet bowl. I mean, it was ripping up one side and coming right back down the other, and there was weeds all over, and there's a lot of timber floating and big logs and stuff going on that are pulling offshore because of all this high water. I don't know. I've never seen this water this high here before. I don't know if it's at like a record high, but I know there's a lot of properties around here now that are in jeopardy every time we get a big wind here. So it's very interesting.
That's what's happening over here as well. We're seeing a lot of that over here on the
on our west side of Lake Michigan, where people have had these homes, they're homes
losing them,
and all of a sudden they're in danger of them dropping off into the water now.
No, I think all the Great Lakes right now are up a good 30 inches or more, across the board. So it's really changing the dynamics of things.
I think if you look at the statistics, and I don't live around here, so I'm shooting from the hip a little bit, but I think it's like 5 to 8 feet over the last 7 years.
And
when you think about when you think about raising the Great Lakes system as a whole, that much water, that's insane to me. I can't even fathom that much water.
Amazing, isn't it?
Because it's, I mean, that's a lot of water.
a lot of
I don't
water.
know how else you put it. That's a lot of water.
There is no other way to put it except that it's a lot of water, because if you think of how deep Lake Superior is, add 5 to 8 feet on top of that alone, and then add all the other Great Lakes and tributaries into that, it I know up on the Saginaw Bay, because I go over to the Western UP and I go right through Escanaba every time. For a few years, you could walk out quite a distance out there, but this year, yeah, it's right up to the cement break ball, and it's like, so there's a lot of water out there.
Yeah, and when that does, it changes the whole system. I mean, the weeds grow different. Now all of a sudden you've got new emerging weeds further in than they ever were before. Where the weeds grew deeper before that you might have fished over, they're not there anymore because the water's too deep, and it just changes everything. So, but those are the challenges that I truly enjoy, and that's what keeps me going.
That's awesome. And that is so good to hear that, it's one of those things that it's not, oh, home, I just got to go. No, it's making you drive. It's that drive that's driving you in your boat out on the water every day to better yourself. And in this case, for next weekend's tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I can go out, a lot of pre-fishing days go 12 hours plus. And I can get my tail kicked for 11 of those hours. And if I catch, a nice fish in that 12th hour, it's like the gear shifts and I'm ready for the next day. Okay, I just learned something, because every fish, you have to learn something or you're not paying attention, because they're there for a reason, right? They're not just there to be there.
Exactly.
They are there for a reason, and walleye's a schooling fish. So there's a very good chance that that fish is not alone. So you really have to pay attention. I say that a lot to people wanting to come into the game and this and that. It's like, if you can't learn something every single day on the water, it doesn't matter how small it is or how big it is, but every day you should learn something on the water, or you're not fishing with an open mind.
That's right, exactly. And you know what? We're bumping up on our last break. So we've talked about you as a kid. We've talked about you with Yamaha. We've talked about you as an angler of the year. The last segment, we're gonna pick on you a little bit and kind of ask you some questions that we typically ask all our interview people. So we'll be right back after this.
All right, let's save this one off, folks. Get your questions in if you've got them.
Annette Schwanky Carlson is waving hi. Craig Carlson.
Hi, Annette.
Craig Carlson, outlaw here. Craig Carlson.
Hey, Craig.
Okay, let's go. Eric Carlson, you up for that? Look at that. Yeah, they're really. I know here over in the river here. They're slamming them. Walleyes are pretty. They're slamming them pretty good. They're just basically just going out and limiting out. So.
All right.
All right, we ready?
Yep.
Last segment of the show.
Here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Last segment of the show, and we've covered everything Yamaha. We've covered some walleye fishing. We've covered Angler of the Year, and we kind of get into the personal side. And before I turn Danny loose on this is his favorite part of the show.
You're kind of scared.
Yeah. Well, Glosser didn't warn you about this part of it.
No, he didn't.
We'll take it easy on you. But before we get going too far into this, on the personal side with you, what would you tell a youngster that maybe he's a teenager and says, this is something I want to do? What's one piece of advice you could give him to point him in the direction, whether it be walleye fishing or bass fishing, just, being a pro fisherman?
Well, you guys have no idea how much of this I've went through with my own son. My son's going to be a senior in college this year, and, he's wanted to chase my footsteps bad, but he wants to do it on the bass side, which that's all fine and dandy. It's very tough to be a northern boy and be on the bass tour, though.
Yep.
because of the travel.
Right.
You know, obviously most of that goes down south. We start to see them up here more now, but education, get your education. This is more about being able to market and present yourself well. Yes, you need to have some fishing skill, and unfortunately in this day and age, you can pick up any YouTube video there is out there and think you know a lot about fishing. And it does quicken the learning curve for sure on all that stuff. But I'm one, honestly, that I fish with my gut. I go by what's burning in my belly, and I always listen to a gut instinct on what's happening. And that's just things you learn with time on the water, and be able to react to your instincts. And if you don't have a good gut feel, you can be all the book smart you want in the world, but if you can't apply the tools, it doesn't really matter. So then you have to go back to the marketing side of it. You have to be able to, you know, present yourself and market yourself and not be over the top with it. I see a lot of over the top anymore with it, and that's the biggest thing. Is just to be able to handle the business side of it, because there's a lot of people that try. This is a sport that chews a lot of people up in 2 years. 2-3 years, they're gone. You know, they go away and they're broke. They go away with their tail between their legs because they just couldn't do the business side of it. And it's about longevity. I'm very blessed. I'm extremely humbled by the fact that I've been doing this for probably 20 years now. There's not very many people that make it that long. And that's what it all boils down to. A lot of it comes down to being able to be seen for a long time, and that's what pushes you through, because these companies know that this sport, this profession, you know, it's a lot of 1 and done, 2 and done, 3 and done, and they don't want to put their label of their product or their money behind that until you can make it through for quite a bit.
You got to put your time in.
You know, that's great advice. You know, Danny and I, we've been doing this, this is our 14th season of doing podcasting and, you know, the show and everything. And we're on the hunting side mainly. You know, we're breaking into this fishing side. But you're right. I think, especially with today's digital media and everything, you see a lot of, you know, I call them flash in the pan, you know, or one and dones or what have you. And people, they look at this and they say, well, that's easy. If they can do it, I can do it, you know. And they don't, like you said, you know, you really got to study and figure out what the best way to market. It's all about marketing now, you know, and presenting yourself in a good light and longevity.
I think another thing for such as yourself and everybody out there is being two things: personable and approachable. Because if, especially like you know, your circle that you are is very small, and if you get tagged with a bad name or whatever it might be, it's going to go around really quick. So if you can't be a personable person to maybe little Janie comes running up to you at a tournament and asks you a question, you don't do the old shoo away or whatever. No. You take the time, you spend the time, you give that little personal side of it. And that is so much to a lot of people that look up to you guys, especially you guys. You're running these awesome boats, these awesome motors.
Yep.
Doing this is just incredible. That I think to me that is personable and approachable.
And I do. I just try to approach it every single day that I am very, very lucky to do what I do. You know, I have basically two professions, fishing and selling boats, and both of them involve fishing, right? When it right comes back down to it. So, you know, I look at every day as a blessing, and that I'm extremely humbled to get to do what I get to do and live fishing basically 24/7 every single day of the year. So, but yes, it all comes back to, you know, like you said, being approachable and all that. You never want to shoo anybody away. It's a very small industry in the grand scheme of things. You never want to burn a bridge. That's another very important lesson, because they might be an XYZ company today, and 3 years from now they might be over here, which is a company you're already affiliated with, and if you burn them back here, that's not going to go well when they show up over here, because they don't forget.
Right.
So,
No, they don't.
if you do have to exit very gracefully,
Yeah.
and close the door quietly behind you. People do make business moves for specific reasons, and a lot of times the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But if you make them for the wrong reasons, it can certainly come back to haunt you.
That's great advice. You
And-
see that in hunting industry as
Oh
well.
yeah, and that's how it happens. But great advice for somebody that's an up and comer or wanting to think about this as they head out and get that first aluminum boat or kayak, and they're heading out and thinking they're going to grab the world, but make sure you know how to approach the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Danny, you got a couple questions here. I know you're just chomping at the bit to ask, so I'm going to turn you
Here
loose.
we go. Here we go.
Really easy though.
You know what? They're real easy. And it's just the get to the personal side of Brett King himself, the BK Whopper. You're out on a boat. You said you're out on a boat 12 hours a day. You're out there. You're cruising around on the boat. Is there a favorite snack that you got to have with you out on the boat?
It's funny you say that, because that's kind of my tag word. This is the old snack. To be completely honest, I've had to force myself over the years to even eat in the boat. For me, my MO has been, when I'm fishing, that's all that's on my brain, and I just don't eat until I come in. But as you get older and your body wears on, it doesn't work so good anymore. So, but no, I don't have anything specific. I will usually carry a gas station sandwich with me, and at some point in the day, force myself to choke that thing down. I'm not a big candy bar guy or anything like that. I might have one in there, here and there, but that's about the extent of it. I drink a lot of Powerade, a lot of water, and a thermos of coffee just about every single day. So that's about the extent of it.
There you
I
go.
don't have no super secret. I eat a banana, anything like that. Bananas are taboo in the boat always.
That's what we hear.
We heard that.
It's just, I walk into the gas station that morning after fueling the boat. It's whatever I feel at the moment I grab.
Okay.
But that's not. But that doesn't stop you from buying a banana and throwing it into Blosters.
That's what I was going to ask. You ever throw one into his boat?
Yeah.
Right? See. So you're the liquid kind of snack guy with the Powerades and coffee. Obviously, like you said, you stopped at the gas station. You're gassing up, so you're driving to your favorite wherever you're going that day. What's Brett listening to on the radio? Is he getting pumped up with some jams, or what's he listening to?
Usually country music. I'm a hard rock 80s guy too, big hair band stuff. But,
Absolutely.
I'm attached to an old truck, and my son just texted me a slam message, whatever. I drive an older 2002 Ford Excursion. I mean, that's my beat. I love that truck. It's got all the room in the world, so I don't have Sirius radio, any of that to be able to pull up satellite and all that good stuff. So typically it's whatever's on the local country radio station, nothing too fancy. I have a radio on the boat, rarely gets turned on. When I'm in the boat, if somebody doesn't want it on, I hardly ever turn it on. I'm just focusing on fishing.
Nice. Well, no,
Boring answer, I know.
No, that it's a truthful answer, and that's what we want to know. We want to know what makes you tick, and it sounded like a lot of this is if we don't ask, we won't know. So, what's your question?
Well, if Danny and I stop over at your place and we say, come on over, I'm going to fix you something to eat. What's your favorite meal that you would fix us, and how's it prepared?
As far as if I'm going to cook it, you're either going to get grilled walleye off the grill. That's not even close to healthy. I marinate it, put all kinds of butter and onion on it, and it's just yummy goodness. And you're going to walk away with a slimy face and a lot of napkins. It's either that or Johnsonville brats, grilled and then soaked in beer. Those are my two
We're
specialties.
gonna stop at the first one, and I'll take any walleye on a grill with butter. Just anytime. Just I'm good right there. I'll take the face full of butter, the hands dripping. I'm there.
It's not going to look good on the plate, but trust me, it feels good sliding across the tongue.
There you go.
Absolutely. You know what? And you know what? Well, while we're enjoying this meal with you, and we're sitting back, and we just finished it up, and we want you to tell us, to you, what is like an important story for you growing up, whether it be hunting, fishing, anything, something that. Being a parent anywhere, what would be the story that you wanted to tell us?
Oh man, that's a good one. The start to fishing is probably a really good one that I like to tell, because people ask me that a lot. What drove you to get here where you're at? A lot of people don't even understand really what I do. It was kind of funny. I moved into the neighborhood I'm at, 3 years ago, and it took my neighbors a long time to even figure out what I really do, because on the boat side I work from home, so it's not like I leave every day and go to an office, and they just didn't even completely understand the fishing side of it. So I spend a lot of time explaining to people, what I do. They don't understand the fishing. How do you become basically a professional fisherman, and what does a professional fisherman do? And then on the flip side of that, I tell them, well, I also sell boats and how that all goes. So spend a lot of time with that. As far as being a parent, that kind of stuff, I do enjoy talking about that and my kids, and how you raise them, and the differences from their childhoods to my childhoods. I guarantee you my son's rolling his eyes right now, Lucas, because I throw it at him all the time. I didn't get to do this when I was your age. I didn't have a bass cat caracal sitting in the garage that I got to go fishing in all the time.
Yeah,
you rode your bike.
Yeah, I rode my bike. I rode my mom's bike because it had a basket on it, and I could carry a minnow bucket in that basket. So
there you go.
Just completely different worlds. The old walking 5 miles to school uphill both ways kind of story.
Yeah,
those are the ones I like to tell.
5 miles each way fishing.
That's right, uphill both ways in the snow.
In the snow.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I don't talk to people a lot about my fishing side and that stuff, because for one, they typically don't always understand it, and two, it's just not something I talk about unless I'm really probed, to do it.
Right.
That's just who I try to be. So
what we like to do, and why we ask these questions, is kind of you're leading right to the crux of the why we do it. Is we prove to these people that guess what, you put your pants on one leg at a time like everybody else does, and you are fortunate that you have become a professional fisherman, and that's what you do. But you smother your face in butter in a walleye like everybody else can. But that's you see these guys, you see Blosser, you see it on TV, you see him on these bass boats, you see him on these walleye boats. But deep down, roots, you're a human being.
And love the outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy going out on the water, every single day I can, whether I catch them or not. As soon as I hit the water, I'm just in my happy place. Not big on just going out cruising around, on a pontoon. I like to have a fishing rod near me at all times so that I can, do that. But the water is my zen. A lot of times when I'm coming home, if I've been off visiting dealers or whatever, the road I come into the little town of Diamond Bluff I live in, that road goes straight down to the access on the river, on the Mississippi River. And there's many days I just pull down there.
Right.
You know, I'll drive straight in. I need to take the first left, but I drive another block straight down in, and I'll just park by the river for a couple minutes and finish the phone call I'm on or whatever, and just watch the water move. And I'll watch the water swirl around the wing dams, and I'll say, geez, I bet there's probably a 5-pounder laying right there that I could throw a jig in and catch. That's just what makes me tick.
Yeah, it's Danny and I are the same way when it comes to the hunting side. You know, I think about deer 365, and you drive by a field and you look. I bet there's a buck laying out there at the edge, you know, in that back corner, what have you. But speaking of that, is there any hunting at all in your adventures, or are you just strictly fisherman?
I'm strictly fisherman.
Okay.
I used to do some deer hunting. I used to do some duck hunting, but over the years, I've kind of moved away from it. You know, the hunting has kind of become a lot of who can lease this land, who can lease that land.
Absolutely.
Which just kind of pushed me away. And then, to be honest with you, fall walleye fishing is the best time of year there is, period. And I just feel like it's continued education every single day that I go out on the water and study the fish more. So I spend my time, you know, I'm probably one of the, I'm not going to say few, but there's not a lot of tournament guys that fish outside of tournaments a lot. Mm-hmm. Once tournament season winds down, I probably fish another 50, 60 days a year through the fall, you know, because that's when they're big. The girls got their eggs on, mm-hmm. and you can catch, you know, a lot of giants fishing that time of year. And like I said earlier, I've got open water 365 days a year. If it's 20 degrees out and it's not windy, I'm probably out on the river.
What was the biggest walleye you ever caught?
Probably just right at 13 pounds or just shy. In that category, you know, that would have been a Lake Erie fish. I've caught a few on the river that are better than 12. Had a few here last year on Green Bay when we were out here for the Sturgeon Bay Classic Bass event, pre-fishing. The last 2 years while we were pre-fishing, Lucas caught one just under 13. And in back-to-back casts last year, I had a 30 and a 31-incher pre-fishing bass. So those are big fish here, especially in the spring. You know, I didn't weigh them. They were probably 12 plus pounds.
Wow.
I don't have a walleye on the wall. I just don't. I just let them go back and swim if I can.
There you go.
Lucas's we did put on the wall. We got that hanging in the man cave at home. That was a pretty special fish to watch him catch that. So
that's cool.
I told him, I said, if you want to put that one on the wall, we'll do it. So we did.
That's awesome. Are you in Buffalo County over there?
Just north of it. Buffalo County is less than a half hour south of me.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And you don't hunt. Uh-huh. Right. Okay.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Buck country.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe he had some experience there.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, that is awesome. That is awesome to hear that, you know, the passion that you have started at such a young age and is just catapulted to where you are today, to what you can do today, and show people what you can do is just incredible. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've spent close to,
It's been an hour of his time.
Been an hour here, so we'll kind of wrap things up. We appreciate you spending Sunday evening with us and just chit-chatting and letting us take a glimpse into your life.
You got me off the water early today on a day. I mean, it was pretty bumpy out there today. It was plenty sporty. When I got back to the east side of the pond, there was some 6-footers over here, so wow. I didn't mind putting it on the trailer a little bit early today.
All right. That's some good rollers. Well, I tell you what, you got a Facebook page, so people can follow you over there and follow you on the tour as well. But we want to thank Yamaha for setting up the interview with you, and so you could spend some time with us. Just hang on just for a few minutes afterwards, and we'll chit-chat afterwards. But for those of you on the podcast, remember, go over to our social media page, check it out over there. Share the show if you would, please. Give us a like, give us a follow. And if you're listening to us on the podcast on iTunes, be sure to give us a review. That helps us out as well. And go over and check out the supporters of Up North Journal. They help us out, and we in turn want you to help them out as well.
Absolutely. I'd go over to YamahaOutboards.com, check out their full line of motors. You heard it again tonight, why these motors are pretty special. Beyond being a motor, the engineers and everything that go beyond.
As well as the power pay thing they've got going on with people who are fishing local tournaments.
If you're fishing tournaments and they're sanctioned, and you can go over there, sign up, and then get paid by Yamaha for using a Yamaha motor.
Absolutely.
So,
one last little shout out I do want to give out. A friend of ours here locally, Bill Hoffman, who we've had on the show before, is actually giving away some of his books over on Amazon. July 23rd through the 27th. Go over and search Twins of Prey. We've featured them here on the show before, and they're giving away free, folks, so go there and check them out if you would, please. That'll do it for us this week. Next week we've got PSE archery
next
on?
week we've got, as long as everything's all set, because they had an incident over at the factory.
Right.
PSE Bobby Vargas will be back on talking about the bows for this fall.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us this week, folks. Y'all take care. We'll be back again next week. We'll see you then. And for those of you on the live stream, if you've got a quick question or two you want to throw this way real quick, and then we're going to let Mr. King get back at being teased by Mr. Blossom.
Yeah, these live questions scare me because I know there's some people laying out there in the woods apparently. Names you were calling off.
Yeah, well, nobody sent any questions in.
Yeah, no, you did wonderful, and you know what? It's one of the things that I really like, and I've noticed getting into this, whether it be the hunting side, now we're starting to venture kind of into the pro side of the fishing side, is we're all human, and that whole basis of, like I said.
I'm losing audio on his side.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
All right. Phew. Man, Mike's going to cut me off again. But anyway, it's the human side of who you are is really what we go after. You know what? For us on, you got the Jim Shockeys of the world and Tim Andrews of the world, but you know what? On your side with the fishing, same thing. Look at you eat like your face smothered in butter and a walleye.
That's good stuff.
That's awesome.
It doesn't get any better than putting food in,
No, exactly.
Especially when you catch it yourself, or you go out and take it out of the field yourself. It's
right.
That's what it's all about.
I think we can wrap up the live feed, and we'll see everybody next week.
All right. If you hang on just a minute, Brett, we'll talk to you right here after the show. But for those of you on the live stream right now, just like we said for the podcast, give us a like, give us a share, give us a follow, share the show if you would. Check us out on our social media sites. Danny will have this up over on YouTube.
Yep, I'll have it up on YouTube in a day or so.
So go over there and subscribe as well. Y'all take care, and we'll be back again next week. So if y'all are out in the woods or in the water, be safe and shoot straight.